Welcome back to Growth Junction, the podcast where we discuss everything and deep dive into the world of crypto finance and Web3. I'm Dennis. I've been in the crypto market and Bitcoin for 2.5 cycles. I've definitely felt the ups and downs and the anxiety of my wallet. Yeah, before this, I was working for multiple marketing agencies, one of them being a top Web3 marketing agency. Today, I'm joined by someone who's at the forefront of Bitcoin education and has also produced a Bitcoin documentary. Juan Pablo Meya. Correct me if I didn't pronounce that correctly, but Juan, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Dennis. It was correctly pronounced. Let's say that for a non-Spanish speaking person, that's the best I would expect.
Okay,
So yeah, thanks
okay,
for having me
right.
here.
Yeah, welcome again. Why don't you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about Alpha Bitcoin and Juan En Cripto and what's the difference between the two?
Sure. Well, so my background is mainly in finance. I'm an engineer by education, but I started working in investment banking before the Lehman Brothers crisis in 2008. And I got disenchanted by the financial industry and the monetary system that we currently live in. I just thought it was meant to be, or there was nothing to do about it. So I didn't do much to fight against it. But I had this thing that I just didn't like it. So I worked in finance for a little bit over 6 years. Then I went volunteering in Africa where I discovered M-Pesa, which is a way to transfer value without transferring money. It basically, in Africa, in some countries, they have this concept of airtime. So you can buy, sell, transfer airtime. You can convert it into fiat currency. So that opened my mind a little bit. I first heard about Bitcoin probably around 2012, 2013, but immediately diminished and said, no, this cannot be real. This is money of the internet money. This has to be crazy. This cannot exist. I was wearing a tie and a suit at that time, and said, no, this is ridiculous. How can this be true? But then in 2017, I was doing my MBA. I just finished my MBA in London, and a friend of mine told me, hey, you are interested in these topics. Why don't you research something about Bitcoin? And I bought a book that is somewhere there. It's called The Cryptocurrencies, The Future of Money. And then it opened my eyes. The initial idea was to learn about Bitcoin to see how the scam worked. Basically, I wanted to understand how are people getting scammed with this Bitcoin thing, so that when everyone asked me about Bitcoin, I could have the arguments to say, look, this is a scam because this and that. And I realized the opposite. Basically, I started to understand it little by little. It's a long process. This was from 2017, as I was saying. And then I started going to meetups, podcasts, listening to all the everything that I could, reading everything I could, and well, it's been a 8 years journey until now. I started what today is known as Juan En Cripto. It started as a YouTube channel. At that point, it was called Blockchain. No, it was called Bitcoin, Blockchain, and Crypto in Spanish, because the beginning I didn't know that Bitcoin was the real innovation, that it was the thing that is transforming the world right now, and I thought that blockchain had some potential use cases, and I did some videos about blockchain for voting and for tracking products in the supply chain and some other stupid use cases that I now know they are not that useful. So I've been teaching, learning, and investing in Bitcoin since those days, late 2017. Unfortunately, not early 2017, but late. So my first investments were not great. I also saw those cycles that you mentioned, and my wallet suffered, and my family also had to live with me for those tough times. And more recently, about 2 years ago, we started Alpha Bitcoin, which is today my main project. Alpha Bitcoin is a platform. It's a membership site where we have a big community, over 500 paying members. We just went over 1,000 free members. We have a free membership, and it's for Bitcoin investors. Basically, we provide resources, indicators, tools, graphs, tables, and most of the information that investors need to make good decisions, to make informed and decisions made in fundamentals and not just the gut feeling, which is what normally happens when people start seeing an asset going up and down.
Yeah.
Goes up and then you feel greed, and then goes up down and you feel fear, and you sell when you are supposed to buy, and you buy when you're supposed to sell. Well, we're trying to teach people and inform them on how to do this in a better way. So yeah, Juan En Cripto is more my personal brand, let's say, my like how it started, teaching people about Bitcoin and how this technology it's revolutionizing, it's changing how we live, the current monetary structure. And Alpha Bitcoin is it's a project for investors mainly. So I would say
Hmm.
that Juan En Crypto started more with a philosophical view, with more an educational purpose, and Alpha Bitcoin is mainly for investors. Some of our members probably don't care about the interesting properties that Bitcoin have. They just care about the money go up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry, number goes up.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, awesome. It sounds pretty similar to my story when I got into it when the price was very, very low, and I just thought money cannot be digital. It has to be physical. What is this? And yeah, that will go away, and you know, but I had to bite my own tail, so to speak. But yeah, the value of Bitcoin goes, of course, beyond the price, just the price and the investment. So education is a massive part of it to make it go mainstream. So you've been you've been in the space since 2017.
That's
Uh,
correct.
yeah. So what's the biggest challenge you would say that you've seen for Bitcoin adoption that still maybe persists today?
I think you mentioned it very well, and it's education. Most of the people just don't put the effort to understand what Bitcoin is. We are just too comfortable with our fiat system. We don't
Hmm.
have an open mind. Yeah, we don't have an open mind to see to understand something new, to believe that this can exist and that there's a better way to transact and to manage money. So I think education is the biggest barrier. Also because governments, banks, and all the current infrastructure is it basically depends on people don't understanding Bitcoin, not understanding
Yeah,
Bitcoin.
yeah.
So they want you not to learn about Bitcoin, and the media is full of FUD, as we call it. It's
Hmm.
full of misinformation about Bitcoin, and it's being attacked all over the place. Now it's changing, but still people see it like a strange concept. This is just for techies, or this is just for people who are very finance savvy, and they don't see it as something that everyone can benefit from. So that part is from my perspective the main barrier.
Mm. Yeah, people still think it's just like a stock that will maybe go up and they can make some money. But there's so much more than that. When I read the book, what's it called, the Bitcoin Standard, that was the moment for me when I'm like, okay, this is the thing. Um, so uh, you target the Spanish speaking world, correct? What's the most common misconception you see in this audience? Is it different from Europe, or how do you see it?
Yeah, actually, it is different from Spain and the rest of the Spanish speaking countries. In Latin
Hmm.
America, mainly like Argentina, Venezuela, even in Brazil, which is not Spanish speaking country, they understand better Bitcoin. They understand it easier because they
Hmm.
have suffered some of the consequences of living in a fiat system when some corrupt group of individuals can make decisions on how much money to print, when to print it, who to give it to, which is one of the bad things. Is like, oh, hey, these people are not just printing money; they are deciding who receives this money,
Yeah, or
and they
just
have
take it also.
yeah, or they just print it for themselves, as is also the case.
Oh,
So in Argentina, especially, and Venezuela, recently with inflation of triple digit, quadruple digit, sometimes some years, they
yeah.
know the importance of having a strong money, like a different asset to store their wealth. So in Latin America, people can kind of get it a little bit easier than in Spain. In Spain, they
Hmm.
currently have the euro. Some of the Spanish, especially the older ones, still remember the peseta, which was the currency in Spain before the euro, and the
Yeah.
peseta was not as strong and not as good as the euro. Let's say like good, but it was not as
Hmm.
bad as the peso. or the Bolivar. So in Spain, they see it mainly as an investment vehicle. Some see it as as property, which is also, from my perspective, is a right is the right perception. It's also like digital property, but they don't see it as a means to transact or as a way to stay away from their corrupt fiat money. In
Yeah.
Latam, they understand it a little bit better from that perspective.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like the Eastern countries in Europe understand that communism is very bad, and that if Europe starts sliding towards that direction, it can be very, very bad for the world. So makes
That's a good
total
analogy.
sense.
Yeah.
Um, so you're offering the indicators, the trading tools, and the analysis. Do you also do you share trades with your community and stuff like this, or?
Yeah, so we don't send signals, which is what some
Hmm.
people want, like, hey, tell me
Hmm.
when to buy and when to sell. But
Yeah.
what we do is we share our analysis of what's happening. So basically, we see different indicators. We monitor multiple metrics, and based on what we see in the metrics, we have weekly videos where we say, okay, basically, I don't know, inflation is going up. It's very likely that the Federal Reserve starts restricting the money, like raising interest rates to
Hmm.
lower inflation. Also, you can see in the Bitcoin metrics, let's say, which we track 9 on-chain, very efficient indicators, and 8 of them are telling us, look, this might be overheated. So we are buying or we are selling this amount or this much of our
Hmm.
portfolio, or we are uh, maybe stop raising our stop loss or lowering our exposure to this asset, and then people should make their own decisions based on the information that we're giving, but we're not telling them to sell or to buy, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So right now there's still a lot of volatility, of course, and uncertainty in the market. So what's the biggest challenge do you think Bitcoin traders or Bitcoin itself also faces in the next 5 years? And how can businesses like yours help people overcome these challenges?
Okay, so right now there's, I think it's a global uncertainty, like geopolitical uncertainty. We have two wars, one very close to us here in Europe, one a little
Hmm.
bit farther in the Middle East. Some other potential wars or like trade wars starting with Trump being so volatile. Trump is probably more volatile than the market itself. So whatever this guy says
Mm.
can affect the markets. Now he's raising uh, taxes and then lowering taxes and then putting barriers for trade and then lifting them based on whatever he feels that morning or that afternoon, and it might be different what he thinks in the morning than in the afternoon. So I think that's the main uh, challenge for not only Bitcoin but the markets in general. And
Yeah.
that's gonna last for years unless something happens before or unless he gets his things straight. I don't know. There are many things that could happen. So I think that that uncertainty is the main challenge. And what we can do as investors is to stay informed, to stay focused, to have a strategy, not just don't let yourself trade based on the latest news and your gut feeling. But hey,
Hmm.
look at the indicators. Look at what's happening on chain. What are the miners doing? What are the long-term holders doing? What are the whales doing? What's happening with the ETFs? So all this information can give you valuable criteria to make more informed decisions. And yeah,
Yeah.
basically keep it cool, have a strategy, and don't let yourself go by the latest news.
Yeah. Don't uh, don't get too much FOMO or FUD, basically.
That's correct.
Stay level-headed. So, the documentary, uh, very exciting, very cool. So you filmed this and you filmed and directed this, correct? In 2021 across, El Salvador, Mexico, Colombia, and Spain. Um, and you've helped show the societal impact of Bitcoin. Um, and but what I really like the approach is that you balance the pros and the cons. It's not just pro, and only the FOMO people, but also some people who don't think the best about Bitcoin, who think it's a scam or just a very, very risky investment. Um, what's some perspective that surprised you from the people that you interviewed for the movie?
Well, we interviewed a lot of very interesting people. You missed one country. You missed Argentina, which is, I think that Argentinians especially understand Bitcoin even more than anyone else in the world. I think that
Hmm.
for them, it's like just easier to understand. So it was very important to go to Argentina. I had a few
Is that
anecdotes.
sorry? Is that after Millet came in? They understand it better or already before?
No, they already before. I think that actually Millet
Hmm.
doesn't understand it, unfortunately. It would have been
Yeah.
great if he understood it. He's a great economist. I think he has a
Hmm.
good understanding of Austrian economics,
Yeah.
but he hasn't put the effort and the time to understand Bitcoin. And
Hmm.
he mixed Bitcoin with everything else, and he just promoted a scam. You could
Yeah, I
There are
know.
many people defending it, and you might have your arguments, but the
Yeah.
fact is he promoted a scam on Twitter, and
Yeah.
obviously millions were lost. So I was gonna tell you about like a couple of anecdotes that I had in Argentina. Once,
Hmm.
what when I first had pesos, like Argentinian pesos, because I went with Bitcoin mainly. I think you can today. You can survive with Bitcoin only in Argentina.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It might be harder, for example, for the utilities. It's probably not possible, but there are ways.
Hmm.
And for rent, maybe most of the like to find a property to pay with Bitcoin might not be easy. But you can
Hmm.
also just change to for dollars or pesos if you need to in a moment. But the point is that when I had pesos, I told an Argentinian friend, "Hey, look, now I finally have pesos," and he said, "Okay, now you know what to do. You need to get rid of them as soon as possible."
Yeah.
Because they are going to lose value. When Argentinians have pesos or dollars, they know they have to spend their pesos first because the pesos lose value very
Yeah,
fast. When
for sure.
Argentinians have pesos and whatever else, they are going to spend the pesos. So that gives you an idea of why they understand Bitcoin. It's because the peso is irrelevant. The peso is basically is useless. It's something that you have for the shortest period of time that you can have because
Yeah.
otherwise you're losing value. So
Mm.
that was very interesting to see that perspective, and that didn't happen in one of the interviews. It just happened living for a week, not living, just traveling around Argentina. So
Hmm.
that was very insightful. Also, you have some other perspectives, like from investors. We interviewed in Mexico Ricardo Salinas, who is the third richest man in Mexico. He bought his first fractions of Bitcoin when it was like $200 per unit.
Hmm.
He didn't buy Bitcoin itself. He bought what in that case it was called the GBTC, the Grayscale Investment Fund, the
Yeah.
Grayscale Bitcoin Trust, or whatever it's called.
Hmm.
And he had also very interesting perspectives, more from the like a businessman. He's a banker. He owns one of the big banks in Mexico. So it was very interesting to make that parallel. And as you said, to see people who hate Bitcoin, because there's no other ways to describe it. We interviewed a few people who not just don't like it, but I would say they hate it or they have strong negative opinions about Bitcoin. And to see that really, if these people put the effort to understand it, I don't think they would be feeling that strong about Bitcoin. I would actually think it would change. They could change their minds and they could come to our side because they are smart people, but they just didn't put the effort. I think that I don't know anyone who has put 100 hours into understanding Bitcoin and is not a Bitcoiner.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. It's like Peter Schiff is a little bit in this crew, but he starts to understand, I guess, now.
Yeah. I think he's the most intelligent and uh, most informed Bitcoin hater. I think he's smart. I think I have learned I have learned a lot about it from him.
Hmm.
So yeah, I still believe he can turn into he's a gold bug. So that
Yeah.
is not that dissimilar from a Bitcoiner.
No, no, no. All right. So filming this documentary, did this change your view in any way on Bitcoin, or did it strengthen your belief in it or weaken it?
I think it opened my mind because normally
Hmm.
we see Bitcoin from our experience and from what we believe Bitcoin is. But Bitcoin is multiple things. Bitcoin can be an investment tool. for a person who lives in New York and is trading, it's fair. It is. It works as an investable asset, and it gives you the volatility to make fiat currency, to make money, if that's how you call it.
Yeah.
But from someone in Venezuela, it's a tool to fight against the regime, and it's also true. And it's a way to send money to your family that is across the world. It's fair. That is true. For some entrepreneur in Spain, it's a way to pay their developers in Venezuela or in Colombia, and it's also true. So it's multiple things. It's not only the asset itself, but it's also the rails, the infrastructure that supports this asset, and it's also a
Hmm.
movement. I would say today, even if Bitcoin was not going up in value, some people would defend it and invest in it or hold it, because if it doesn't go up in value, probably invest is not the right word, but they would teach about it just because it's a movement, it's a revolution. Some people see it as it's a community. Like you talk
Hmm.
about the Bitcoiners, the Bitcoin community, and then
Yeah.
if you start going even deeper, you can say, hey, and now we have Rootstock, which is like a side chain, and then you have Lightning Network, which is a layer two. So you start having
Hmm.
multiple things that are still part of Bitcoin or not. It's part of the definition, but it opened my perspective. It taught me that not Bitcoin is not just what I think it is. Bitcoin is multiple things, and for everyone, it can serve multiple purposes.
Yeah. What was the thing you just said? Rootstock?
Yeah, Rootstock, previously known as RSK, is like Liquid, Liquid by Blockstream. It's a side chain of Bitcoin. In this case, like Liquid is more focused on speed and privacy and the cheap
Hmm.
transactions. Rootstock is basically it's a fork of Ethereum. It uses the same like Ethereum virtual machine, but you move
Hmm.
Bitcoin value. Instead of having to use Ether for gas, you use RBTC, which is you block. Let's say you freeze some bitcoins on the Bitcoin blockchain, and then you are
Yeah.
issued some RBTC or some Bitcoin in the rootstock blockchain. You can move them, you can create smart contracts, you can use DeFi and all these things, and then obviously you can
Hmm.
uh, use a bridge to take your Bitcoin back to main chain.
Right. Interesting. Never heard of that actually.
It's
Um,
not that well known because it started in Argentina.
mhm.
Now they are putting some people from London or from the UK in the management team, so they are starting to do some more marketing in English and trying to reach new markets. But they have like a stable coin backed by Bitcoin. They have like all
Mm.
these different uh, DeFi primitives, but with Bitcoin, and you don't have
Yeah.
a shitcoin built into this. Well, actually, they issue their own asset, their own shitcoin to finance the whole project, and it has some other
Yeah.
purposes.
Yeah.
It's a utility token.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Interesting. So filming this documentary in multiple countries is probably a pretty big challenge. Uh, what was like the biggest one to get the documentary to the screens? Was it also shown in the movies in the cinema?
Yeah, we it was shown in the movie theaters in Spain. We had
Hmm.
a premiere in Madrid. It was huge. I was very happy. It was one of the biggest moments of my professional career,
Hmm.
let's
Hmm.
say. The biggest challenge was definitely financing, because it is very weird, but companies who live from Bitcoin, who abstract money from Bitcoin, they
Hmm.
are not that willing to contribute back to the community, which was a little
Hmm.
bit hurtful.
Yeah.
While people that had not so much money, like exchanges, for example, exchanges, they make a lot of money from this ecosystem. They are probably the most profitable business in the whole industry, and they are not willing to help other people learn about Bitcoin or to help these projects. That our intention was not to make money. We didn't make money. Actually, we
Yeah.
probably lose some money. We consider no, we definitely lost money if we consider the time that we spent. But even
Yeah.
in plain numbers, we probably broke even, but fairly. So I thought it was gonna be easier. I thought that getting money
Hmm.
to do something like this was gonna be easier. That was the definitely the biggest challenge.
Yeah. I think it's usually pretty hard. The financing part is usually a big challenge for documentaries, especially. So
Yeah, and
well done.
unfortunately, something that I learned after is that when you create a documentary, it's called like non-fiction. you are competing not just with like Bitcoin documentaries. You are competing with
Mm.
all documentaries, and now, right now you have the documentary of the girlfriend of Cristiano Ronaldo showing her body, and it's very
Yeah.
hard to compete with that. Or you have, I don't know, you
Yeah.
have some very sexy or more appealing, more something that calls the attention much more than Bitcoin. Because for us,
Hmm.
Bitcoin is like, oh, how can people not be interested in Bitcoin? But
Yeah.
yeah, it's still very niche. Like people who want to really get into Bitcoin, not that many.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. So how does the competitive landscape look for you in terms of Alpha Bitcoin and then the Bitcoin education?
So we haven't found like a competitor that offers the same as we do, because we have different things from different other players. For example, we have some indicators or graphs that would be similar to what Glassnode does, or
So
like
you have developed these indicators yourselves.
more than develop them, we have taken indicators that were previously used, and we have our own node, and we go to our node, we extract that data, and we
Hmm.
show it on a nice graph on the screen.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
you can see different things. When are coins moving? Which coins are moving? Are these coins that are moving where they recently moved, or they were moved last time they were moved were 2017,
Yeah.
or yeah, all these data you can find on the Bitcoin blockchain. So we put it in a screen, and then we put it in the same graph as the Bitcoin price. So it's very easy to see. Okay, when I'm gonna say an example, when long-term holders start selling at a exponential rate or an increasing rate, then it might mean we are close to the top, because that's what has happened in the last 3 cycles.
Yeah.
Or yeah, and from this data you can make all these um, like assumptions. That doesn't necessarily mean that what happened in the in the past is going to happen in the future, but
Hmm.
it gives you some idea. It gives you a map of, look, this is what had happened, is likely, or there's some probability that it happens again. And if it's not just one metric, but you have 10 metrics telling you the same, then you probably have more confidence in your decision making.
Yeah.
And but so that's one part of the business. But we don't only show it, but we also analyze it, and it's not only on-chain data, but also like technical analysis and some fundamental analysis, what's happening with the macroeconomy. And as you said, we do at least one video a week that is more focused on education. So how to store your Bitcoin keys better, how to do
Hmm.
a multi-sig, where you can access remotely, where people, 3 different people around the world can help you like self custody your Bitcoin, or how to use Lightning Network, what are the different wallets that you can use to store your Bitcoin in a
Yeah.
more secure way. So it's a, I would say it's very holistic, in the sense that we have everything that investors would need to make these decisions. And we're not selling a wallet, we're not selling an exchange, we're not telling you go and trade here or there. We're saying
Yeah.
these are the options, this is what exists, these are the benefits, and the pros and cons of the different solutions.
Hmm. Awesome. Speaking of indicators and price fluctuations, what do you think now with all this fear? Is the top, or is it over, or do we go for another run up in 25?
I strongly believe this is not over. I think this is, and there's one metric that, for example, is not on chain, that I strongly follow, and it's the monetary base, basically the M2, the money supply, the
Hmm.
aggregated money supply of different countries, of the main countries, because we obviously don't track every single country. It would be very hard and
Yeah.
probably useless to track the what's the money supply in the Philippines right now. I don't think it's that relevant, but
Hmm.
when money supply is growing as it is right now, it normally indicates that the Bitcoin price is going up. As I said, currently markets are crashing. It's not just Bitcoin, it's not just crypto,
Yeah.
it's the markets in general. But what the indicators are telling us is that we are still in a bull market. This
Hmm.
might change relatively soon, because the market changes. But today, I say we are still in the bull market. This is a buy the deep opportunity, and well, hopefully that's the case, because I haven't sold a single fraction of my Bitcoin stack yet. I haven't sold
Yeah.
a single sat.
Yeah. Awesome. So What's your goals for Alpha Bitcoin and also for Juan En Cripto within like 6 months, 12 months, and 36 months?
Well, Juan En Cripto, I'm not taking that much care of that brand as I should
Hmm.
probably, because I'm focused on Alpha Bitcoin. So the goals
Hmm.
for Alpha Bitcoin is to continue to grow. We are deciding if we want to expand to the English market, which is obviously a harder market because we're not native English speakers. There's
Hmm.
more tools, content creators,
Hmm. Hmm.
everything in English. So it's a more competitive
Yeah,
market.
definitely.
So yeah, so we are not sure. We are contemplating our options. Maybe we need to find a partner, someone who knows that market well and who can
Hmm.
help us get there. But right now, I mentioned we have 500 paying members. We expect to finish the year with 1,000 paying members. We are adding new features. We are doing some reports, like not weekly, but at least 2 or 3 a month. And we are adding new features that I don't want to jinx them and say something that we might not be able to complete, but I
Yeah.
promise there are many things coming very interesting for the members. Some of them already know. Things are happening. It's
Yeah.
moving.
Awesome. All right. So what about a long term, like a 36 months from now? I know
There
it's
is,
probably hard to say, but
yeah. So with I strongly believe, and I might be wrong. I wouldn't be mad if I am wrong. That Bitcoin is gonna go up in value again and it's gonna crash. I strongly believe not necessarily that the cycles are gonna continue, but it's human nature in markets where when an asset starts going up, everyone starts to get FOMO and then they invest
mm,
and then they get leverage and then they tell their people to invest and when everyone is
hmm.
invested and there's no one else to invest, then people start selling, and then when
Yeah.
the price crashes, everyone panics and then everyone starts selling. So that is the normal cycle of the markets, not necessarily
Yeah.
the 4 year Bitcoin cycles based on the halvings or whatever. But I believe that we need to start offering, and we are actually already doing it, some other like investment alternatives, especially for Bitcoiners who strongly believe that Bitcoin is the best asset to hold long term, but they want to take advantage of the volatility and not be stuck in the like all-time high price. So once
Yeah.
we think that the Bitcoin price is high, maybe it would be smart to divest or diversify and invest in other assets. So which
Yeah.
other assets? And that's what we are exploring. So mainly stocks and ETFs. That's what we are exploring. Those are the assets that we believe can can give you some alpha on Bitcoin. That's why the company is called Alpha Bitcoin. We're trying to
Hmm.
beat Bitcoin, which is very hard. It is extremely hard. I have tried for the last 6 years to beat Bitcoin, and
Yeah.
for some periods I make it, but in the long term it's hard unless you take one of the bear markets, and that's what we're trying to do. It's, hey guys, this bear market is coming now. Just don't store all your value in Bitcoin. Bitcoin has other properties that are very interesting to have the asset even if the price is going down, like you can store it yourself, you can move anywhere in the world wherever you want without telling anyone, without registering anywhere, without even people knowing that you have it. You can transfer it worldwide, etc. It has very interesting properties that I would
Hmm.
never sell all my Bitcoin, but I this time I'm ready to invest in other things. What other things? As I told you, we are looking into it.
Yeah.
So that's we're expanding our offering not just to analyze Bitcoin, but also some stocks in the stock market, some ETFs that might be interesting. There are commodities that are interesting. Like gold, the gold price has been going up in value since the last 4 years. Not as much as Bitcoin, but it has prevented you from falling from being trapped in the fiat system.
Yeah.
We have like uranium is very interesting. I strongly believe that the world is going to consume much more energy in the future, so you need to
Hmm.
supply that energy. I don't know if it's going to come from fossil fuels or if we're going to have to find some new ways of generating an energy. So that's an interesting asset, and things like that. Like there are different themes that can guide your investment thesis.
Yeah. Interesting. Very interesting. So fusion might be the next energy model if that they get the science really working there. Um, but so if you had the magic wand, I like to ask this. for Alpha Crypto and you can solve one problem or challenge within the business, what would it be?
Retention. I think that's actually what I will have to focus, because some people are very short term oriented and they just want quick trades, and they want to make quick money, and they they don't know that investing, it's a long term game. So some people, they just didn't find exactly what they wanted, or as I was telling you at the beginning, we don't give trading signals. We're not telling people, hey, buy now, sell now, buy
Yeah.
this, sell that. So we need to find a way to convince these people, hey, this is for the long term. Try to stay here, stick together, look that in the long term this is going to work out, and try to do that. Retention is one of the challenges. You mentioned something important. You called Alpha Bitcoin Alpha Crypto, and we're also expanding our offering in crypto. I personally have experimented in DeFi before it was called DeFi. I don't
Yeah.
talk too much about this in public because I think it's very risky and I don't want people to lose their money into these experiments. I strongly believe that most of these are experiments. There are some that are well positioned and that have very good track record, but there are definitely very interesting opportunities with these automated market makers, like these liquidity pools, and everything that you can do with DeFi is very interesting. We are I have been studying it for, like, as I told you, like many years. But we're looking for a way to try to first educate people, teach people about how this works, the risks that it has, but also the opportunities. Because I know for a fact, because I have done it in DeFi, that's the way you can beat Bitcoin. That's one of the ways you can beat
Hmm.
Bitcoin without having to trade, with a more passive approach, not completely passive, but not having to be stuck to the screen 24/7, seeing the price go up and down.
Exactly. Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much. That was a lot of insights from Juan from Alpha Bitcoin and Juan En Cripto. Sorry for confusing that.
No worries. It was good. It
uh,
served a purpose.
yeah, okay. Thanks again for joining us. Please tell people where they can find you, Alpha Bitcoin, Juan En Cripto, and so on.
Okay, well,
And the documentary, of course.
first of all, thanks for the invite. I had a great time. It was nice to talk about all these projects that I have been doing for the last 7 8 years. The documentary, you can find it on YouTube. It's Revolución Bitcoin, like Bitcoin Revolution, but in Spanish. It has English subtitles, so it's for everyone who's watching this. They should definitely go and watch it. It's only an 80 minutes film, and I promise you, it will open your mind and you will learn not necessarily about the technology behind Bitcoin or how it works, but about how people are using it, and the potential, the real potential that it has. So YouTube, Revolution Bitcoin. Alpha Bitcoin, you can also find us in YouTube. It's Alpha, ALFA, and then Bitcoin. Or in Twitter, it's at Alpha Bitcoin underscore IO. And Juan En Cripto is Juan En Cripto with the I, not Y, crypto, because crypto in Spanish is like crypto with CRIPO, not with CRYPO. So
Yes.
Juan En
Mm.
Cripto, very easy to find in like every social media.
All right. Thank you so much again for coming on. It was a pleasure. Thank you for the service you're doing with the education and everything, for sure. Um, yeah, everybody listening or watching, thank you so much for tuning in. Until our next episode, I will see you soon. And until then, stay curious and keep building.
And stack
So,
sats.
yeah, exactly. All right. Have a good one. Bye, people.
Thank you, Dennis.